So welcome to Midday Reset with Amy LePage. And be sure to follow her on Instagram at LePage Amy, or you can email her at amy.emergeyoga@gmail for her other classes on breath and body, pelvic floor, weekly somatic movement classes, series classes. You can look those up.
Great. Thank you. It's lovely to see all of your faces. So just go ahead and mute yourself. I'm kind of muting some of you too. Just mute yourself just for background noise, and know that you can always ask questions during class. So if something I'm guiding doesn't make sense, feel free to unmute yourself. And I also would like to just give everybody the reminder that we all are coming with our own stuff, right? And I don't know how you feel in your body. Hopefully, we're building some skill and awareness around recognizing how you feel in your body. So just know if I'm guiding something that doesn't feel quite right, some things that you can think about are, what if I go smaller? What if I go slower? What if I do fewer repetitions? What if I pause and breathe instead? So those are all options that you can do if something I'm guiding doesn't feel good for you. And if you have a place of injury in your body that kind of has a constant level of pain, if you do a movement and that pain stays the same, it's okay to explore the movement. But if you find that with a chronic pain level that you do a movement and it really starts, like it increases it, then that's where you would want to think about those other ways of being with the movement that I just shared, or of possibly doing a different movement, or just of resting. Okay. So I welcome you all to come into whatever position you would like, where you feel like you can relax, and start by taking a little inventory of your breath and how you're doing today. So it could be standing, sitting, lying down. We're all in our own spaces, and so you really can tailor this to what you need, okay? And what I mean by the tuning in and just noticing how you're doing is it's this chance to stop whatever you've done so far, try not to think about all the other stuff you got to do after this, and just practice this really the art of slowing down and tuning in. So if it's helpful for you to close your eyes, you can do that. And you could also just have your eyes in a nice soft focus. And just take a few moments where really your sole purpose is to be a moving, breathing body in this place of pause. Maybe even letting a couple of the exhales out through the mouth. And it's okay if you're noticing that it's kind of a bit too much to try to be quiet and still and just focus on breath. That's good information too. Okay. All right, so now go ahead and just give a little wriggle. So a little wriggle of the shoulders. Well, if you're standing, maybe it's even wriggling the hips, moving the knees. Great. I like to think of this wriggle as an opportunity to let things kind of like whoo in the ground and settle down. So the opposite would be if we're wriggling and everything's going up, right? We're really trying to visualize and get a sense of that energy grounding down. Great. Lovely. Now go ahead and start with rubbing your palms together. I want you to notice what your kind of go-to way of doing this. Is it fast? Is it like this? Is it slow? Just notice where it is and see if you can at least not do it like this. Okay, if those shoulders are hiked up towards your ears. So that's where sometimes that little rubbing, wriggling of the shoulders can come in handy. Great. So you're building some friction. Maybe you're building some heat around the palms, the fingers. Great. And then you're going to take these hands and you're going to let the head just rest right into them. So you can have your arms resting on your chest, the head slightly tipped forward, and the hands supporting the weight of your head. Perhaps also giving a place for the thoughts to just simply be held and supported. And can you take a few breaths here, aware of the space between your shoulder blades? Somebody in the chat box referred to them as the angel bones. So that place between the blades as you inhale and exhale, just awareness of that back side of the body. And then slowly starting to gently move the fingers along the different contours of your face. So with this, you're really letting your fingertips kind of just explore and get curious. Maybe it's the furrow of your brow that you know you tend to do, and so you're gently smoothing that out. Or maybe you tend to have headaches in the temple area or tight jaw. Maybe eyes feel like they can tend to have strain, and you can gently circle fingers around the eye sockets. So when we can release tension in our face, that helps to release tension everywhere else in our body. So that can sometimes be a great place to tune into. And if you think you hold tension in your jaw, a great practice can be trying to move your jaw side to side with your hands doing it. It's not your jaw moving itself side to side, but it's trying to relax the jaw enough that you can actually shift that jaw joint. And if you notice that your whole head is going with you, just so you know, that's your neck moving, not your jaw joint, right? So just notice what's happening. Maybe it's up and down. Notice if you feel silly doing this. It's okay. All right, then you're going to let your fingers come and find the back, the neck, the back of the skull, and just gently circling, gliding the fingers along this part of the body. Again, just see if you can notice. Are you doing it like this, which is a whole lot of extra effort, right? Instead, what if the arms can come forward and the elbows just whoop, lift up and you're reaching back? Right. Now, I want you to take the next 10 or so breaths to just continue to use your fingers to give a little attention to whatever part of your body feels like it needs it. It could be your shoulders, it could be your belly, it could be your hips or your back. But again, we're using our own touch as a way to tune into a place that might be feeling niggly. And we're trying, see what it's like to not necessarily get in there like, oh, there's this tight spot and I'm trying to just get it to go away. But can it maybe be like, I'm going to kind of tune in and listen to what does this part of my body need? So that quality of how you use your own touch when you're meeting your body. Okay. And you can have a mixture of your hands touching that certain part of the body and a little movement happening in that place in the body. And if you're wondering, well, how do I bring this into, everyday stuff? It could be, if you're sitting or standing at your desk doing work and you realize things are starting to feel a little tight and stiff, then you can bring this in. Same thing with if you wake up in the morning or before going to bed, working in the kitchen. So when you feel done with this, what I want you to do is either just let your hands rest where they are or let your arms just rest down wherever you'd like. And now I want you to see if you can practice directing your breath to one of those places in your body that you just spent some attention and tending time with. And this could be like visualizing the breath, intention of the breath traveling to that place. You might actually feel the body kind of moving a little bit more with your breath in those areas. Lovely. Okay. Whatever position you are in, see about shifting. So if you're sitting, maybe come to stand. If you're standing, maybe come to sit. If you want to, if you're on the floor, just maybe you're basically changing your orientation a little bit. And again, that is a good practice to think about during your day, that idea of like switch it up during your day, get into a different position. Okay. I will stand. We're going to do a little bit of neck work. So neck and shoulder work. And so what I want you to think about is if you say have gone to standing and you were just on the floor, but you find that doing this in standing kind of feels like, I feel like strain building or whatever, then feel free to get back on the floor, okay, and explore some of this in a different position. But I want you to think about folding and unfolding, or unfurling might be another word for it. So you're gently, I'm going to get a little closer even though you can't see my head. You're gently going to kind of roll your arm bones in, which is going to constrict and contract these muscles of the chest. You might even feel it a little lower into the abdomen. And then I want you to slowly just release out of that to neutral. Yeah. Great. Now you're going to go in the other direction. If your arm bones roll out, those shoulder blades will start to move towards your spine. It will contract those muscles on the back side. And then you slowly release to neutral. Okay. That's it. So what I want you to take from this is slow, smooth, simple, small. Rolling, curling forward. Slowly releasing to neutral. Rolling, curling outward, and slowly releasing to neutral. And just for you to see the floor version, if you are on the floor, it's here, is rolling, curling toward your center and front, and releasing to neutral. Rolling the arm bones out, sliding the shoulder blades toward the spine, and releasing to neutral. Okay. I want you to do that one more time each direction and make sure that you are actually pausing for a moment in neutral before jumping into the other direction. That releasing, settling into non-efforting is a very important place to remember to find. Great. All right, now just let those arms hang. Again, this is your chance to check in. Am I good standing? Do I want to sit? Do I want to get on the floor? Okay. You're now going to bring your awareness to your neck and head. We're going to link it with shoulder movement. So we did this the first class. We slid those shoulder blades up toward the head. And again, can you feel into the experience of moving? What are those muscles doing to move those bones? And then slowly release that work you just did. And as smoothly as possible, just those muscles let go and the bones go back to home. Do that again. Slowly releasing. Lovely. Now I want you to feel the difference for a second because I really want to make sure that you are getting this little nuance. Go ahead and raise your shoulders up a little bit. There's a difference of raising your shoulders up and slowly releasing them, which is what we were just trying to do, compared to raising your shoulders up, kind of, sort of not releasing it, but using other muscles down here to pull them down. So see what it's like to kind of raise those shoulders up. Don't fully let it go, but try to pull them down from farther down. Can you kind of feel constriction or like tightness or stuff? Like it's a different experience. So I want you to let go of that because I don't want you to practice that. Okay. Yeah. So this is all about practicing engage, release, pause. Okay. All right. So do one more with the engage, release, pause, not with the gripping, bracing version. Lovely. Slowly letting it go. Great. All right. Now we're going to let your neck explore some movement. So any direction you would like, but I want you to go slow enough that you are tuned in again to the experience of your body in motion. And what you're also noticing is what is actually the cervical spine, the neck, and the head moving. And if you notice that you're twisting your upper body or you're side bending like that, you're actually using other parts of your back and your vertebra besides just your neck and head. And we're trying right now to explore neck and head so that you can discover the range of motion that feels easeful in your body this morning, afternoon. And be creative. Like maybe there's this like zigzag up and down, side to side movement that you can bring in. If it feels okay, what if it's ear toward a shoulder? And then maybe you curve your neck around. This is where moving slowly is also really helpful because even if the movements are small, if we go fast, we can tweak things. If it's comfortable for you, you can reach your hand up. You can kind of feel into the neck area where it meets the skull. And you can kind of leave your fingertips back there so that as your head moves, you can start to bring a sense of awareness kind of toward the back part of the skull, but also the under part of the skull and how the relationship of those vertebrae move with the skull. And then when you're ready, just letting your head come back to that place that feels, again, like home, like non-efforting. I'm resisting using the word neutral because I often think of neutral as connotations of symmetrical, but we might not be totally symmetrical in what's happening with where our head is. Okay. All right. Take these hands again. Give them a little rub. Bringing awareness there. You're going to now put your hands on the side of the rib cage and see about the lower side of the rib cage, just above your waist area. Thumbs can drape around the back of the rib cage if that feels okay. And I want you to try to breathe sideways into your hands. So if you've taken other classes with me, this probably feels familiar. What I'm trying to help you explore is that if you notice your shoulders going up a whole bunch on your inhale and then down on your exhale, there's a lot of chest breathing and like whoop up breathing up here in the body, which can tend to also be kind of shallow. So we're really trying to access some diaphragmatic breathing, which just means that your diaphragm is having a chance to move more fully. And having this touch stimulus of your hands is a way to help bring your awareness side to side into your body. Great. Now, leaving your hands there, see if you can still try to have that sense of breathing into the hands while you also explore moving this rib cage. And what I want you to be aware of is, especially if you're standing, like if you get into, or sitting, and you kind of get into like curving in the middle of your back forward or something like that, the back might not love that sometimes. So make sure that wherever you're moving, whatever direction, there's no tweaky, zingy, anything happening. And what you could also do, instead of doing it in sitting or standing with the hands at the ribs, if you want to come toward the floor, you could be in tabletop. But I really want you to get a sense of rib cage, exploring the movement. Knowing though that, yes, it is your vertebra, right? Your spine is moving too. Great. So what can happen is we can get really stiff and rigid in our torso, right? And if we lose the ability to side bend, to flex forward, to arch back, to rotate, then it's like we've lost a whole bunch of different ways that our torso can support us with our movement. And then we're left with these limbs that are trying to do everything, with a neck that's trying to support and strain and hold everything. So give yourself the next 5 or so breaths. Again, change position if you want. And if you're exploring this on the back, this could look like this. You're here and you're bringing these different directions of movement into your spine and into your rib cage. Great. Notice while you're doing this, what's happening with your jaw, what's happening with the eyes and the forehead, and what's happening with your breath. Great. And then I want you to take a pause when you're ready. And either kind of, really in that place of pause, almost stillness, or if you want to take a little stroll around your room, you can do it that way. And just notice how you feel. You've been moving 15, maybe 20 minutes. Right? And not just physically, but what's your mind space feel like? Right? What does that kind of emotive quality in the body feel like? Okay. All right. So neck, we visited face, jaw a little bit. We visited spinal column, rib cage, breath a little bit. We're going to focus on some knees and hips. That was another request for today. So let's see about standing. We'll start here, and we're going to start with our feet. Even though that's not in hips and knees, it leads to the hips and knees. So in standing, I'm going to do a little of this. Pretend that my hands are my feet, right? So I want you just to start to move your feet, kind of grip your arches, grip your toes, spread your toes, do any kind of movement where you're articulating through your toes, through your ankles. I'll kind of do this and see if, there we go. And as you're doing that, you can even move the weight on your feet, kind of outer edge, inner edge. And I want you, as you're doing that, to see what's happening with your knees, what's happening with your thigh bones, what's the relationship of how you're moving in your feet and what's happening farther up the leg. And this is an exploration, right? If you notice that you're in shoes a lot more because it is colder outside, then your feet are probably getting less of a chance to articulate and move, which then means that we are then kind of walking around more with like these blocks that are the place where we meet the floor, rather than these articulating, moving, receiving of information, sensory points for our body. Right. And then just for kicks, what if we were to play with shifting the weight? One leg, foot rather lifts than the other. And just see how it feels to transfer that weight, to play with a little bit of a balance. So you'll notice I'm not giving you set postures to explore. It's more this overall, let's explore themes, let's explore weight exchange, let's explore relationships. So again, the middle of your day, if you've been sitting a whole bunch, go ahead and stand and try doing some one-legged balances. Hold on to something, right? That feels better. Okay. Now what I want you to explore is the relationship of foot to knee to hip. So put your hand, if you're holding on to something, do that. Put your other hand right where your thigh bone meets your hip bone. Again, I'm going to come a little closer. And as you kind of explore movement in that leg, maybe you turn the leg out, turn the leg in. Maybe you start to lift that foot up. Can you feel the relationship of how that leg bone moves in your hip socket? Maybe you slide the foot forward, circle it around, and get a sense of that leg moving in the hip. You can articulate through the foot. You can get your foot and leg into all sorts of weird little positions, but see if you can find the relationship between the parts and pieces. And ideally, this thigh bone knows how to turn in. It knows how to turn out. Ideally, the thigh bone knows how to move forward, knows how to extend backwards, knows how to go out to the side or to cross in front of you. And the seated version of all of this is sitting on those sits bones, your hip bones, and exploring that movement sitting in a seat. Okay. Go ahead and try the other leg. If you focus more on one leg, then just start to articulate through the other side. So if you get a sense and you notice that when you stand or you're doing anything balance-wise, and you notice, I almost just fell off my chair, and you notice that your feet do a ton of gripping, you might be asking your feet to do way more than they should be doing in terms of supporting you. We ideally have support, control, containment, stability up here where our thigh bones meet our pelvis and where our center of gravity is here. Okay. So you're just letting yourself have this little dance. Foot, knee, thigh bone, hip. Okay. Great. Now go ahead and plant that foot down so you're standing on 2 feet again. Lovely. So one of my backgrounds is in movement as an improv, and don't get worried. I'm not going to make you dance, but you can think of it that way if you want. But what I want you to think about is this idea of improvisation just means you're moving in the moment, right? Without pre-thinking of what it is. So I would love for you, just like you did with your legs and your feet, to try to do that same thing with your arms. But I really want you to think here. I like to think of these as my like bird wings. These shoulder blades are ideally moving with every little arm movement you do, every little reach, every little movement of that torso, that the blades are gliding in some way on the backside of the rib cage. So see if whatever arm movement you're bringing in, you can make that connection mindfully with your awareness, maybe even also feeling it. Now, what you got to pay attention to is, does it feel okay for your shoulders and neck? And obviously, if you have a shoulder injury or something and you keep moving in a direction that hurts, you will keep moving in a way that hurts. And the pain cycles, the feedback loop is just going to continue. So for example, if moving your arm like this hurts, but you still want to get your arm overhead, what about moving like this to get your arm there? Does that feel okay? So this is more of a way to think about if you have like an acute thing happening and it just keeps happening and keeps happening, then explore other ways that you can still move functionally, but not keep repeating something that is acute in that moment. Now, what if you think, all right, even extend it to your fingers, move those fingers some way as part of this movement of your arm. Great. And go ahead and let those arms settle down. Give a little wriggle. Great. All right, I would love for you to now turn and face some other direction. So not facing the screen. And I just want you to face somewhere else. I want you to see something else in front of you. So you're taking in different visual information. I want you to see if you can become aware of the front side of your body with your mind's eye, your awareness, or even just put a hand at your chest, put a hand at your low belly to be like, oh yeah, here's the front of me. Here I am. Right? And then if it's comfortable, you can take at least one, maybe both hands, and touch something on the back side of you. Maybe it's the back of your hand at the back of your pelvis. Maybe it's a hand at the back of the head, something that starts to bring your awareness to the back side of your body. And if you're near a wall, maybe you stand and you just feel the back side of your body touching this wall. So you can start to bring some awareness out of that forward focused, always like moving in that direction, thinking, seeing in that direction. And now you're welcome to move the hands if you don't want to have them back there anymore, but still keep your awareness there. Great. And slowly roll your arm bones out. We did this in the beginning. Feel how those blades move toward the spine, and then rise those arms up, however high overhead feels comfortable. And then slowly bring the arms back down by your sides. Really let your awareness shift down towards your feet if you're standing. If you're sitting, awareness into your sits bones and the soles of your feet. Roll those arm bones out again. Feel the space between the blades. Rise one arm up overhead, the other hand come to your hip. If you feel like you want to look back at the screen again, you can. And you're going to come into a side bend. And can you, as you explore one side and then the other, be really aware of how those arm bones and shoulder blade are moving? And can you also tune into how one side of the torso gets longer, the other side gets shorter? And just letting yourself feel that connection of your center all the way up to your fingertips, all the way down to your toes. And just remembering that this tuning in, this idea of reset throughout your day, is that you only need a couple minutes. You could take one movement and just be so deeply present with the experience of the moving, of the breathing, that it's literally resetting your nervous system, your attention and intention back to yourself. Go ahead and let your arms come down. We'll start to widen the feet. And we'll come into a gentle rotation. So you're just letting the arms hang. Zero striving. Bigger is not better. Faster is not better. And just to see fully, I like to lift the heel because it has less torque on the knee joint. So whatever my face is pointing, the opposite heel lifts, right? Now pick either your hips or your shoulders to notice and pay attention to while you're doing this movement. And just see if you can be aware of what's happening in that part of your body. If you're paying attention to your shoulder girdle, you might be able to notice and feel the blades gliding along the rib cage, arm bones moving a little bit. If it's your hips you're paying attention to, you might be able to feel how you actually have your leg bone rolling in the hip socket, or you can think of it as your pelvis moving on top of your thigh bone. And then let yourself, in the next few breaths, start to come back to that place of pause. Whether you're standing or choosing to sit, just notice how and where you connect downward. Bring some awareness to this idea of this rise of energy upward, all the way up through the crown of the head. And for the next couple minutes, I'm going to open this up for you to do what I call a little tune in, where you are like, what do I need right now? What do I want? It might be movement. It might be lying on the floor. It might be that you need water. It might be that you want to write something down because some kind of thought or thing just came to you. But this is improvisation. This is you listening deeply enough to what you might need. Even if it's a movement that you've never done before, you don't know what it's called. You don't know if you're doing it right or wrong. It's kind of no right or wrongs. And wherever you're choosing to go, can your breath be a part of your exploration? Feeling it enter, coming in, feeling it leave. And see if you can let your thoughts kind of percolate on movements we've done, kind of concepts we've explored, and see if you can pick one or two movements or explorations that just felt good or intriguing or right in your body. And I would love for you to actually picture yourself in your own space later this week or later today, actually doing that movement. What room you're in, Are you sitting? Are you standing? Are you lying down? And just picture yourself doing it for a couple minutes. And then I want you to let yourself think about all the other things, reasons, shoulds that are going to get in the way of you actually doing it. I should do the dishes. I should go shovel outside. I want to sit here and look at Instagram. I don't want to do, like, let yourself run through all the things that will get in the way of you taking care. And then I want you to come up with some like response that you kind of have a pre-prepared response that in that moment could help you possibly choose tending to yourself compared to the other things that might feel more important in that moment. It'll just take a minute. I'll feel better for it. I am worthy of taking care of. Right. So you are welcome here to just let yourself stay, especially if you're in a like really comfy, cozy, nesty place and you just want to stay as long as you want, you're welcome to. I'm also happy to have folks unmute themselves if there's anything that you have a question about or that you found really helpful, or the little thing you're going to say to yourself to help shift you towards self-care and tending. Feel free to either type it in the chat box or unmute yourself and share with us. But it's been lovely to have you here today. I'm trying to get a chance to see all your faces before.
Well, thank you, Amy.
Yeah. I can't tell who just said that because was that Martha?
Yes.
Oh, great. I could see the one person who's not muted. You are welcome.
I'm going to sign off now. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Thank you, Amy.
You are so welcome.
Nice afternoon.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Amy.
Thanks, Amy. Thank you.
Have a great day. Good to see some familiar faces and new ones.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nice to see you again.
Yeah, you too, Grant.
Thanks, Amy.
You are so welcome. Great.
I like breathing into my shoulder blades and my ribs.
Yeah,
That was good.
good.
I remember that.
Yeah. Did you find that having your hands there helped you, or even just thinking about it helped you?
Both.
Yeah.
Having the hands definitely helps, and thinking about the back.
Yeah. Great.
Have a good couple of weeks.
Yeah, you too.
Bye.
So, Amy, you are doing classes online?
I am doing classes online, and then I'm working with people individually in person. But at this point, all the group classes are online.
And I can find those at Emerge.
Yeah, the best way is to email me directly. My website is a little funky right now, but it's amy.emergeyoga@gmail.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm looking, I think it's in the chat. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, it's in the chat. Yep. Yep.
Okay, took me right to it.
Okay, great. All right, see you.
Thank you, Amy.
You're welcome.
That was really nice.
Good, good.